Joseph Goebbels, appointed as Reich Minister of Propaganda in 1933, was the architect behind Nazi Germany's psychological warfare. A master of mass persuasion, he orchestrated campaigns that saturated media with Nazi ideology. His strategies included exploiting modern technology like radio and film, ensuring Hitler's message reached every household. Goebbels' mantra, "Repeat a lie often enough and it becomes the truth," underpinned his relentless control over public perception. By 1933, the Nazi regime had seized control of all media outlets, silencing dissent. Newspapers were forced to align with party directives, while independent journalists faced imprisonment. The Reich Broadcasting Corporation became a mouthpiece for Hitler, broadcasting his speeches nationwide. Book burnings, like the 1933 campaign targeting un-German literature, symbolized the eradication of opposing ideologies, cementing Nazi dominance over information. Hitler's image was crafted as a messianic figure through staged photography and films like Leni Riefenstahl's Triumph of the Will. Propaganda depicted him as Germany's savior with slogans like Ein Volk, ein Reich, ein Führer, one people, one empire, one leader. Giant banners adorned cities, and crowds were choreographed to erupt in synchronized adulation. This deification was designed to equate loyalty to Hitler with patriotism. Nazi propaganda systematically vilified Jews, communists, and minorities as existential threats. The newspaper Der Stürmer published grotesque caricatures, while films like The Eternal Jew framed Jews as subhuman. Posters depicted enemies as rats or spiders, invoking visceral disgust. This tactic, rooted in pseudoscience, justified the Nuremberg Laws and later the Holocaust by normalizing dehumanization. Goebbels exploited the psychological principle of repetition to indoctrinate the masses. Slogans like Juden sind unser Unglück, Jews are our misfortune, appeared on walls, coins, and schoolbooks. The swastika became omnipresent, on uniforms, buildings, and even children's toys. Radio broadcasts looped Hitler's speeches daily. This sensory overload eroded critical thinking, replacing it with reflexive allegiance. The annual Nuremberg rallies were meticulously staged to awe and intimidate. Over 500,000 participants marched in precision, flanked by towering insignias and flaming torches. Riefenstahl's films captured these events as transcendent rituals, blending Wagnerian grandeur with military might. The rallies weren't just displays of unity, they were psychological weapons, convincing Germans of Nazi invincibility. The Hitler Youth and League of German Girls trained children to prioritize the state over family. Textbooks taught racial purity, and boys practiced military drills. Summer camps combined camaraderie with ideology, rewarding loyalty with badges. By 1939, 90% of German youth were enrolled. This grooming ensured a pipeline of soldiers and mothers, embedding Nazi values for decades. As Germany invaded Poland in 1939, propaganda framed war as a defensive crusade. Posters depicted Allied leaders as monsters, while newsreels sanitized blitzkrieg victories. The term total war was coined to justify sacrifices. Soldiers' letters, censored and edited, became tools to romanticize combat. This narrative collapsed as defeats mounted, but not before millions were mobilized by lies. Even as the Red Army closed in, Goebbels broadcasted fantasies of wonder weapons like the V-2 rocket. Photoshopped images showed Hitler inspecting intact divisions. Civilians were told to hold out as cities burned. The 1944 Total War speech doubled down on delusion, blaming Jewish conspirators for failures. This gaslighting prolonged suffering, but couldn't mask reality. By April 1945, propaganda's spell broke. Germans saw Hitler's suicide reported in Allied newspapers and witnessed death camps liberated. Goebbels' final broadcast, urging resistance, aired to empty streets. The Reich's collapse exposed the machinery of lies, millions dead, cities in rubble. Survivors grappled with complicity, proving how easily truth could be weaponized and ultimately reclaimed.